If the country can just fix the roads, I think that's a start. Because infrastructure is the only way we will develop. Your local celebrities are there. They have money to spend. They have money to invest. But why can't they invest? It's because the infrastructure is poor. If the government can just fix infrastructure, the land will appreciate. People will now start to appreciate investing in their own country.
Do you aspire for a booming middle-class economy? Listen along to understand what turns the wheels of Uganda's economy with our line of incredible influencers in their fields.
Welcome yet to another episode of the podcast on Uganda, the segment on marketing. I am so excited to bring a maverick onto the podcast, Elia Kim Atuhaire. He is the key account sales representative at Uganda Breweries Limited. We've had a couple of you guys on this podcast. You might as well make On Uganda your podcast, but we love that you're so insightful. You come to share your knowledge here with us. And with you, Kim, we are so excited because you have such a wealth of information in marketing and sales, particularly in the beverage sector. We're quite excited to have you here.
Thanks. It feels good to be here. I got the notification a while back and I was like, wow, a podcast interview. I've been running my own podcast for the last year.
Yeah.
The Maverick podcast UG. And it's been great. Like, it really opened up a lot for me in terms of just getting my personal brand out there, getting people to know what I do. And I've been able to create a side hustle from that. So I just recently registered Maverick Consult Limited. It's my own creative and business development agency.
Yeah.
So still baby steps. But yeah, the grass is definitely looking greener on the other side.
Fantastic. But before we get into the deep, would you give us an entry in how you got into marketing? Where did it start for you?
I'm in sales and marketing for Uganda Breweries. Currently, I'm a trade marketing representative. I'll get to that a bit later on. So, university, I studied social sciences. You won't believe it. I'm a social worker. I'm a human resource practitioner by profession. So, coming out of university, Uganda Christian University, a young basketballer, just all about life. It took me about 4 years before I could get my first job. But the one thing that stood out for me was LinkedIn from early 2009. And it was always that slow platform for me. I never knew how to maneuver, but it seemed so serious. People were always asking for CVs here and there. The CV business wasn't working for me outside. So I stuck to LinkedIn. One day I applied for a job with Diageo, and out of 2,000, I get called among the top 12. And I just got in there. I came to showcase who I am and what my personality brings to the kind of job that I'd be doing. That's how I got into sales. And my first sales job was in Masaka. That's where I was posted.
Whoa.
Very young, coming out of university. Man, it was quite scary, but I had someone to settle me in, Alan Rodman. Did Masaka, trade for 3 months. Then a role opened up in Fort Portal. So in Fort was handling about 5 districts, still general trade. It was an amazing journey. The people are wonderful. Did my stint of 1 year. A problem came up with a customer in Entebbe. So I was able to handle that problem all the way from Fort Portal with a few people in copy. I caught my DSM's eye and I was like, I want that guy. He plays basketball for the local basketball team. I need that guy in this division. That's how I got transferred from Fort Portal to Entebbe. I did a year in Entebbe, most challenging year of my life. Then a role came up in key accounts. I jumped into key accounts. I handled the on-trade. It was called Premium at the time. So I handled outlets like the Alchemist, Thrones, Gab's Lounge, if you remember. There were quite a number of outlets. Kush Lounge had just opened up as well. So I was pretty aggressive in outlet recruitment at the time. And I was able to grow my portfolio to a 2 billion business, able to grow it to a 4 billion business as well. My portfolio was quite big at the time before COVID.
Yeah.
When COVID struck, then I moved into the off-trade for a bit. That's where I handled the petrol forecourts and a few modern supermarkets. So I handled the Vivo account and the Oryx account. And then for modern supermarkets, since it was COVID, I just handled accounts that were within my vicinity. Coming out of COVID, I then went back into general trade, which I've been doing for the last 3 years now, handling the Kabalagala, Namuongo territory. That's a brief in 8 years.
It's amazing. I'll pick it up from that one email you wrote that was a game changer, right? Tell us more about, probably most people are curious.
Okay, when you play a sport like basketball, you're known by quite a number of people. It's a very popular sport.
Yeah.
Growing up from Entebbe, I knew quite a number of people. Luckily, I knew this bar owner called Maureen, Momo. So Momo had found some Guinness which had a bit of some quality issues. And she sent me pictures of them. I was in Port Porto. It was a Sunday. I was in my bed. And I saw the pictures. I was like, oh my. First thing that came to my mind was like, Momo, who is having that Guinness? She was serving some consumers and they had gotten irritated. So I told Momo, box that batch of Guinness. How many crates are they? 2. I believe I paid for them. I sent her mobile money, give those consumers different Guinness. That's not that Guinness, batch away that Guinness. Then I had a chat with a few people in the background and they had picked up the issue and were like, wow, Kim solved this issue all the way from Fort Porto. Like, how known is this guy? How good of a problem solver is he? The DSM was like, please, I would want that guy. He would be a good resource to help us gain market share within that territory.
Sport worked for you and also knowing people. So knowing Momo.
Social capital.
It's fantastic, right? Social capital, we'll get into that later. But for now, the highly competitive beverage industry, it's very dynamic. And since you've been there since 2000, right? With Diageo, I want to pick your brain on the key market trends you've observed in Uganda.
Firstly, I don't want to get too technical here.
No. We like simple. The audience is quite young.
I want to be as simple as possible.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Do you know what it will take for Uganda to achieve a middle-class economy by 2040? Please send us an email at onuganda@gmail.com.
When you're dealing with on-trade, I believe my number one job is, as much as it is to sell in the Diageo brands and how these brands can help these outlets, I feel like one aspect that is really ignored is the longevity of outlets by us as sales and marketing people. We need to understand that
outlets, you mean
bars,
your supply,
yeah. So the segments we supply, because the segments we supply are the segments that keep the distributors' lights on. It's not even a trend. We need to understand that our brands need to bring value to these outlet owners and keep the lights on. How? We need to be able to understand what factors keep these outlet owners open as businesses and how.
Right. And which ones are those?
For me, the number one factor that has really come up over the last few years is real estate. It is something we need to do a KYC on and know your customer about, because you will find an outlet where the outlet owner owns the real estate. That I mean real estate, I mean land, the building, you can do whatever he wants. That's an outlet that's probably going to last as long as even 10 years. But where you find an outlet that doesn't own the real estate, anything can happen. You might have the most fantastic outlet. You might look like the Villa. You might look like the X, Y, and Z. You might look like the Alchemist, or you might look like a Gabs. But if you don't own the real estate, then there are a lot of factors that eat into that client's profit and loss, especially on the rent side. So you find that the customer is paying over $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. Case in point, Silk didn't own the real estate, and that was a very big overhead in their business. And Sechanzi, I think, if you probably had a consultant tell him that your overheads on rent are massively crazy, if you honestly took a few steps back and reinvested the Silk brand into its own real estate, the Silk brand would still be here. And for me, I think those are the brands that have closed, come and gone, died out. It's majorly real estate that has really had a bit of an issue in keeping the lights on. For me, once the lights are on, definitely the outlet is definitely going to perform with whatever strategy you put in place.
Yeah.
It's just about how do we know our customers and what's our KYC strategy with these customers. Have we taken the time to evaluate, do they own this property? Are they credit worthy? Are they bank worthy? Before we even start to execute any of the activities with these clients. There's an outlet that opened on Gaba Road, Paradigm. I'm pretty sure that real estate is his, because he just set up, I'd say, a billion Uganda shillings investment. And You can't set up such an investment when you probably don't own the real estate. It won't make sense at the end of the day. If the bar dies within 5 to 6 years, you can always break it down, start a car wash, start a supermarket, start something.
Yeah, wonderful. That's a movement you've noticed. You talked about the consumer who was consuming the Guinness at Momo's place. Would you also highlight on trends with your consumers in the beverage industry?
All right, I think trends do vary. With the Momo's issue, this was years ago, about 20. Why that came up was sometimes there could be beer that has a quality issue. You might find a Cavera in a bottled beer and someone wants to sue you and you're like, okay, sometimes these quality issues are one-offs. They happen. And when there's a quality issue, we are definitely communicated to probably put aside that brand and maybe we'll replace it with another brand. So maybe that wasn't done at that time, but then we just have to be able to take it away and ensure that the consumer keeps on enjoying themselves responsibly.
Yeah.
By providing more like a persuasion thing.
Yeah, I love that. You talk like you have created a relationship with people from starting with Momo's incidents till today with the most recent buy paradigm. As a key account sales representative, I think managing relationships is very crucial. And if someone is listening in today with a small brand or small business, how do you recommend that they do maintain strong relationships with their clients or customers?
I'll be honest with you, relationship management is very tough. I will speak to my key account background, yeah? One of the toughest or hardest people I had to crack was Roger Izimba of The Alchemist. First of all, This is a guy that knows hospitality full on full. You come with your bullshit, he'll tell you, wait there. You come when your numbers are not ready, he'll tell you, bro, I don't have time for you. I literally had to wait 3 months before I could have a meeting with him. And that was of me going to The Alchemist. I look at him, he looks at me. I say, hi, Roger. He says, I have no time for you, Kim. I've got to go. That's it. Meeting missed. That happened for 3 months till I just used to sit at The Alchemist and be like, oh my God, when will I meet Roger? I couldn't always keep having conversations with the management because they were not going to execute whatever brand plans I had for The Alchemist without talking to Roger.
Exactly. You hung around the barber shop until you got a haircut.
Exactly. So I had to just stick it out. One Saturday, we sat down together. He got to know who I am as a person. He's a family man. I'm a family man. We had a lot of drinks. You know that bench at The Alchemist before you go to the bathrooms? There's a really cool bench. We have like a bird's eye view of what's happening at the bar. You know, his bar is quite busy at night. So he would always see, look at how busy the outlet is, look at what we're serving. So we would get deep into all those insights of how he came to start The Alchemist, how he reached here, what he's doing. He will measure his profit by the milliliter. That's how precise he is of a person. If a brand is not going to bring the amount of value he's looking for, and if it is not the right brand, then he's not going to want to partner with that brand. At the time, we were doing a Ciroc branch. I did not come up with it. I found it running, but it was my onus at the time to just continue working with the brand and the brand collaboration and how best could we make it work. Key here was also solving problems around stock. We used to have somewhat a bit of a stocking issue. We would ship in quite a number of cartons for Ciroc pineapple, but because of his Ciroc branch that used to happen on a monthly, we would always deplete about 10 to 12 cartons a month.
No way.
And sometimes the stock holding was never enough. So there was this one branch where his main supplier was out of stock and he just told me, Eli, we need 8 cartons of Ciroc. How are you going to find it? I had to move around, give or take the whole Kampala, just looking for 3 cartons here, 1 carton there, 2 cartons there. And the distributors were like, we need money. You're just picking stock.
Yeah.
You're going, we need money. And I'm like, guys, I will get you on Monday. Please, let me just run this activity. And those are the things that just drove our relationship closer. I was able to solve those nitty-gritty problems that he would have. Most importantly, promises made were promises kept. We grew a really close relationship. I was able to activate and just help him gain the value from the brand and also, help him keep the lights on.
it just ran through my mind now while you were explaining this dilemma that your social scientist then came into play. I feel like it's helping you along the way to create these relationships, don't you think?
Man, studying HR, you get to understand people, the psychology at play, and people are different. With this kind of job, you get to meet so many different people, culture, different world views. You get even to meet different sexes, or you name it. So it's just how in tune is your mind to being open to knowing people and being able to bring them in. What does your energy give off?
I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
And for the gentleman who was running the Zero campaign, would you give us examples of really fun campaigns you've worked on?
I will say the one campaign I directly worked on was in relation to sales, and my outlets was with Thrones Lounge. I will forever be proud to say this wherever I go. I was working with Roger Agamba. Thrones had just opened. So we get in there. It was Stones. My line manager at the time, OJ, was like, Eli, we want to make this the most iconic Johnny Walker bar in Kampala. And I'm like, okay, let's think. So the bar had the overarch at Thrones? It's like an overarching bar.
Yeah.
We stood there for about 20 minutes, looked at the bar, looked at the environment. And before you know it, OJ was like, how high can you jump? I was like, how high do you want me to jump? I was like, you're going to collect empty Johnny Walker bottles and fill them on the back of bar. I was like, what? I was like, yes. Every Monday when I would show up for morning meetings, my teammates would call me, oh, garbage collector, how many bottles did you get? It used to sting. But every Sunday, like I would go to different bars. I would go to Laventi, I would go to Exo, check their garbage and pick empty Johnny Walker bottles. I was able to collect about 500 of those. We filled them with liquid. This made them look as realistic as Scotch, but we filled that back of bar arch with Johnny Walker bottles. Then they filled the remaining with actual real stock. So that's how amazing the bar has looked for the last how many years. Come down to activating now. We fixed the visibility, but now we needed to put those bottles on the table. I knew a friend who runs a niche, I'd say, events company by the names of Malembe Lifestyle. I'm sure your audience would know who Malembe Lifestyle is.
Absolutely.
And the CEO, Keith Ashaba, is a close friend of mine. We studied together in P3 at Lakeside.
We love Keith.
And within my time at UBL, he was always doing snap off at Governor at the time. So when I called him about Thrones, he was in Tanzania. I'm like, Keith, I just set up the right Johnny Walker bar for you. When can you come through? When can we talk? He's like, say less. I'll be there on Tuesday. Let's have a meeting. For the longest time, he never wanted to activate in bar. So he comes on Tuesday. We sit at Thrones. It was me, David, the manager, who could make decisions at the time. Keith on the other side. David asks me, what are you going to do for me? I ask David, what are you going to do for me? Then I'm like, I need
sometimes
you to buy
the very first time I got asked that question as a professional, I froze. And this was by a procurement officer. And I just didn't know what to say, but I had to think about it thrice. And I thought, wait, what?
I'm like, okay, let's set the context. This is what I want. I wanted David to give me 40 million in Scotch sales a month. What he was getting from me was a 10% rebate. That was between 4 to 3 million. And I told him I'll give him that rebate in form of Johnny Walker Black 1 liter. So if I'm giving the outlet stock, that means he's turning it over. It's double the amount. Because he's selling it at his selling price.
That
was a good landing for me. Then Keith asked me, Kim, what are you going to do for me? I'm like, this conversation was getting a little bit tight. My commitments to Keith was I would get him at least 4 bottles every week for his influencers, for his people that would come to spend. Would do the artwork, would make sure the brand has visibility every Friday. Then Keith had to talk to David. What is he going to do for him? What is David going to do for Keith? They had to agree as partners. So it was a 3-way deal. We came up with Lembe's Friday. We had the biggest discounts on Scotch whiskey for 6 months from Throne's inception. The pricing was crazy. Every Friday, you'd come to tables and they had these big buckets of Johnny Walker with like 3-4 double blacks in them. 4 or 5 black labels in them. It was a madhouse every Friday at Thrones. Give or take, I did about 144 cartons of scotch in that outlet alone. That's one of the executions end to end that I'm proud of.
So Kim, I just wanted to highlight more on the interests of the three individuals you had contact with. Yeah, David was asking you what's in for him, and Keith was asking David what's in for him. So I really want to encourage the patriots that every time you have to reach out to a sponsor or want to collabo, everybody has their interest. Don't think they want to help you because you're in need. You always need to think about their interest. Before we get into Maverick stuff, I think in the trade, you've been faced with challenges, or call them opportunities, however you like. If you had the will, or if you had the power to change something, what would that be?
I think the toughest part about being in sales, especially in the FMCG industry, is work-life balance. Trust me, with the FMCG industry, the work-life balance is on you.
You just said you would go find Johnny Walker bottles on a Sunday, and I was thinking, oh, that's my weekend. Do not call me.
Sundays are like the new Friday for the on-trade.
Yeah.
My God, people party on Sunday. What are you going to do? Are you going to stay home just because there's an opportunity to sell and you're home sleeping? Put the Monday off. The job is going to push you beyond hours, and you have to have that self-awareness and that knowledge to know that your body is going to give in. Give or take, I wake up at 5:30 every morning. 7:30, I'm at the desk. Right now, it's 9 p.m. Who knows? I might end this meeting and go finish up maybe 2 more calls before I go home. Yeah. That means I'm reaching home at about 11, Yeah. Then I power down, catch up with the family. I could even find them asleep. Then guess what? I have to wake up again at 5:30 in the morning. I'll probably leave without my daughter seeing me for like 2-3 days. If you get in terms of time, someone may not see you for about 2 to 3 days. So I feel like if there was something I would really educate a lot of salesmen, you have to be cautious about your work-life balance. You have to listen to your body, because your body will break down. Your body will just fail you at some point and will need to recover. You need the energy to keep going. So how do you pace yourself and not gas yourself too hard? Rest is important. Your mental health is important. You have to have a certain culture within you to exercise your body, keep your body fresh, keep the blood flowing. Otherwise, you'll just die out.
I love the personal touch to your advice.
UBL is the number 1 employer in the country. They've done everything to make sure we are comfortable. We have the right tools, the right gadgets. We are facilitated to do our jobs.
Before we go, it would be nice to help us understand how you moved sales from 2 billion to 4 billion, like you mentioned earlier on. What are the tricks and tips? The young listener, what would be their takeout out of this conversation?
All right. At that time, it was a keep your kill policy with my line manager, OJ. Big shout out to OJ, Chen James. He taught me all I know about key accounts. So basically, when you're out there interacting with different people, different cultures, how good are you at listening? Because you could be in a circle of people, you're having a drink. Oh, by the way, I have a 400 million or 500 million. I want to open up a bar. I'm opening up a bar here. Can you come check it out? So those are the conversations I pick up, and I'm like, okay, give me your number. Oh, come check it out. But then we continue having our fun. But then come Monday, that's the first guy I'm going to call. I'm going to be like, yo, let's just go check out this place. And you find that the guy is setting up a very big project. That's my kill. It's a jungle out there, and you have to grow your portfolio. You could be in insurance, you could be in car sales, you could even be selling biscuits or chewing gum. But how do you navigate your market to understand where your next kill is going to come from? And how agile are you? How swift are you to go in for the kill as quickly as possible? So that's just what happened, Sometimes I would take away outlets from even my fellow colleagues at the time, because I had a lot of offers. I had a lot of budget that I could work with, and I could tell these outlets, man, work with me and I'll make you happy in this way because of the business you're giving me. No offense, my colleague wouldn't do that. That's how I was able to grow the premium portfolio to where it was.
Okay. And a golden question that we ask every guest that comes onto this podcast. What would you think it, because the World Bank projected that Uganda is going to achieve a middle class economy by 2040?
If the country can just fix the roads, I think that's a start. Because infrastructure is the only way we will develop. Currently, where I work, Salama Road is under construction. Let's just say the kind of people that stay on Salama Road are unique. You will find your Spice Diana, you will find is there, you will find the Weasels are there, your local celebrities are there. They have money to spend, they have money to invest. But why can't they invest? It's because the infrastructure is poor. If the government can just fix infrastructure, the land will appreciate. People will now start to appreciate investing in their own country. And hospitality is in different forms, and it keeps evolving. Let them eat all the money they want, but we fix our infrastructure, we're in a better place.
Yeah.
Better road networks,
yeah.
GR, train systems. We save time, saving people's man hours on the road with traffic jam. What does the government save the local man's man hours to get to work?
Yeah.
That is carved down. Then I think as a country we will even get there within half that period. But for now,
let's push for more infrastructure development. You'll be able to move your liters with ease. Now we're done with the 9 to 5. Let's go into the 6 to 9, 6 to 10 Maverick UG Consult. Tell me about it. So yes, you spoke about social capital, half of the start of the conversation. What are your hopes for this? Are you allowed to have these two? You just talked about balance, work-life balance. Now you have even more taking off of your time from your family.
Well, for starters, I don't have any conflict of interest with my current work. It's not a bar business. It's not a hospitality outlet. But Maverick UG came up because of my love for the hospitality industry. I would always give insightful advice to outlet owners. They loved it. They would always keep pushing me and they say, man, Kim, I think you can be a very good hospitality or business consultant. And I was like, okay, I'll keep giving it a thought. I'd always put it off. But the time came and I was like, you know what, let me just put my foot down and do something for myself and make good use of what I've learned over my last 8 years with the brewery. And that was the inception of Maverick UG. I sat down with a brand strategist. He's a very cool kid. He has done really cool brand strategies for different outlets. He's the guy who did the brand strategy for Aura. So your community would know Aura. It was a former Big Mike's. It's called Kim Galifonike. I told him what I wanted to do. He was like, okay. He designed a brand strategy for me, from logo to everything, put it all together, came up with the famous Maverick logo. The last year, it was just a logo. But then I went ahead and I said, let me just start putting my brand out there on YouTube. Let me just start interviewing people. Let's just start talking consulting on YouTube. Let's just start, having engagements on YouTube. Crazy, a year later, I don't have 1,000 subscribers. I have about 320 subscribers. But even just with getting 320 subscribers, I was able to channel into an agency role within my own small business. And I've been able to get at least now 3 clients. I have 3 MOUs with 3 clients, which is good. Currently, we are doing an awareness campaign for a hospital client, and they are doing research on a very rare disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
Never have.
It's a campaign that the Maverick UG team is working on. I'm just the team lead at the top, just managing finance, managing HR, managing people, and my people are executing the work all under the brand. And it's giving me insights. I'm learning new things. I might have to also re-educate myself, reinvest in more education in order for the business to grow.
Yeah, you should.
But again, I was intentional. I was intentional about my personal brand. I was intentional about building myself. I was not afraid of someone saying, you might fail, you will fail. Oh, this video sucked, man. Why did you do this? You don't look confident on camera. You don't, it all took time to build.
Your video, no motivation, was great. I was listening to that before we got onto the call. It's the content I would listen to anyway. So I don't know who's telling you it wasn't great.
Trust me, there's people that will tell you all sorts of things. It's just how do you block the noise and just how do you get better every day?
Yeah.
Sometimes I would also leave mistakes in my videos intentionally to drive engagement and to see who is actually watching. Because when someone would watch a video with a mistake, they would come and tell me, oh, by the way, there was this. And I'm like, so you finished it. So that's where I would go with the engagement. So it's just about doing lots of research, be intentional about yourself. I was lucky to have a personal branding conversation with Victoria Nyanzi. She's big on LinkedIn right now. The Three Sisters Network is
I
a
love
network
Victoria.
for ladies. It's really strong, and there's no male that's doing it on the guy's side. But I was really lucky to just deep dive with her for 30 minutes, and man, she challenged me on a whole other level. And the insight I picked from her, I'm supposed to return to her and invest in, by the way, and I'm holding myself honest to that. I told her I would sponsor at least 2 sisters to join her network because of the value she gave to me. For me, just showed me that wake up every morning. Just put yourself out there.
It's great to speak with like minds and just people who are doing something better than you are. There's always something to learn. It's amazing. So before we wrap up the call, Kim, tell us about your podcast and where should people find it? Give us all the detail.
Just go on any of the socials. It's Elia Kim Atuhaire, Eliakim.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for all your insights, Kim.
It's
lovely to get to know you more, and your work and your passion. You can tell you're enthusiastic about it and you're also happy to share it. So we are glad that this has also rubbed off on us. So good luck with all your endeavors, everything you have your hands on.
Let's do a part 2 very soon.
Thank you for listening in this far. I really hope that this conversation was helpful to you. Share this episode with your colleagues or friends that you think will benefit from this information. Let them know what you're listening to. Would you also rate our podcast? Because once you rate our podcast, other people like you are able to listen to this information and use it to their own benefit. On a lighter note, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. We really would love to hear your